Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. This is your host, Santosh Shiva. Every week, I bring you conversations with people who are on a journey of well being and fitness through endurance sports. I hope they spark some possibility in you, leave you with some tips, and perhaps inspire you to perspire. This episode is also available on leading podcast platforms if audio is your thing. Also, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to it. Hit like if you like this video, and remember to leave your comments. Let us know if you took something away. In the house today is someone I had the pleasure of speaking last year in the podcast. At that point, we explored his journey of being a non-swimmer and then going on to conquer the world of triathlons. He went on to complete Ultraman, which is the next level to triathlons, IronMan. And this year, he pivoted into the world of ultras. Having completed his first 100 miler, which he dedicated to raising funds for the second wave of COVID that hit India, his journey is always fascinating. We explore what's behind his desire to push limits. How does he come up with these fascinating adventures that keep him going? Let's welcome Manmadh Rebba. All right. Hey, Manmadh. Welcome back to RunYogi Diaries.
Hi, Santosh. Thank you for inviting me again to your podcast. It's always a pleasure talking to you and actually having a nice conversation with you.
Good to have the Ultraman back.
Thank you.
All right. So, hey, I thought it would be great to catch up. Last time we spoke, it was pre-pandemic. The world was a different place and a lot has changed.
Yes.
And, you've been up to, we all dealt with pandemic in a different way. And you obviously have been still active. You didn't give up on being an endurance athlete. So let's kind of jump into that, right? So before that, maybe I'll let you kind of do a quick personal introduction, where you live, what you do, and then we'll get into the topic.
Sounds good. As you said, my name is Manmadh. I'm into endurance sport. I'm like a ultra endurance athlete in terms of I do Ultraman triathlons. I did 4 of them so far, and now I'm getting into ultra running. That's my passionate side, and as a profession, like I'm a project architect, and a project manager for San Diego Airport. And I live in San Diego, but I'm originally from Hyderabad. From India. So that's a brief, and I'm like a regular person, like any other person. Yeah, that's all about me.
Anything with ultra will attract you. You want to get Manmadh's attention, just put an ultra in front.
Yeah,
and he's going to be there for you.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
So yeah.
So pandemic, right? We are here to talk about what happened last in 2020, and so maybe start with you. How did you deal with the pandemic? How was it for you?
I think for me personally, kind of things worked out like in my favor in 2020, not 21, but like in 2020, because my mom was visiting me. She got stuck in US because of the pandemic, and that's how it worked for me. I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with her, to actually know her like at this phase of her life. So that was good, and all my races got canceled.
Nice.
And that was kind of like initially I was like, man, like I had a momentum from past 4 or 5 years, and then like suddenly 2020 put a break to everything. So I was like initially disappointed, like just I think 4 days before my Badwater Cape Fear 51 mile run, they said like lockdown. I think they did March 17th was when they just like pulled the plug, and then like they went for a lockdown, and my race was on March 21st. I had all my tickets booked for I had like multiple races set up, and I was a bit disappointed, but I was like, things happen for a reason. Chill out, buddy, and enjoy. Like this is what life is throwing at you. better embrace it and try to find some good thing out of it. So my mom visited me again, and I ate, and I gained quite a bit of weight. But at the middle of 2020, I realized like that's too much. I'm like basically draining all my fitness. So I kind of like again like I tried like it took me a while to actually get. I mean, I couldn't get into my rhythm until like October, November of 2020. So
Wow.
it was interesting,
Hmm.
and I've been training solo all these years, so isolation wasn't like hard for me. It's like it felt like I have been training for
Hmm.
2020 isolation, so it really didn't bother me. But it's just that it was hard to hear different stories about how people are suffering. I mean, nobody was able to help, so yeah, I mean, I did my part of going to work, I was part of critical essential infrastructure, San Diego Airport. So you got to do what you got to do. And I was doing my part
Hmm.
and trying to stay fit, or like, at least hold on to the fort of my fitness and fitness fort, and spend some time with my mom. That's all I did in 2020, but 21 was like
That's
completely
nice.
different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's nice actually. In a kind of a blessing in disguise that your mom was there and you were able to spend time with her. And otherwise, you would be racing out there and she would be at home,
yeah.
most likely, right?
Yeah, that's true. But it was good. I just, I mean, like, since I know you are an immigrant too, when you come out of the country and then you don't, even though you go and visit, like, even if you have an opportunity to go and visit them in India, you actually really don't spend the quality time where you have like sit down, do nothing, don't hurry up, just actually have a conversation or just enjoy the food she cooks, or like, get a chance to critic on what she cooked earlier. If you go to India, it's like whatever, like when somebody cooks, you just like take it as, okay, this is what you get, eat it. And you don't get to that stage of critiquing somebody's food. So, so it's a good, cool thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So is she vegan too? I know you're a vegan.
I mean, like most of my 2020, I mean, I took it as a challenge. I turned vegan in 2019 after my Ultraman Worlds in 2019. I turned vegan, and I was vegan until she was there. And she just cooked, it's easy to cook vegan
Hmm.
food. Indian food is mostly vegan, just remove few things and that's it. And then, yeah, the end of
Yeah.
2020 is when like I became Fle-gan.
What's vegan?
Fle-gan is flexible
No.
vegan.
Oh, flexibility. What does that mean?
So, I mean, like you're flexible as a vegan. You eat vegan food, and sometimes I throw in some seafood. I don't eat meat, but
That's that's funny. It's I almost thought because your mom was there, you started eating biryani and you said, "Let me be vegan."
yeah, no, it's like I I didn't eat biryani. It's like I was eating mostly Indian food, but it was a great experiment. The whole reason why I wanted to be vegan was to understand my body, how I'll perform as a plant-based athlete. So mostly, I mean, I'm still like
Hmm.
majority, I'm like vegan, but I throw in some protein, and that's what you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I'm a vegan. I'm a vegan.
yeah, we start our new trend.
I like that.
That was good.
What about triathlons?
I haven't signed up for any
Did you
triathlon.
stop triathlons?
I mean, like I'm kind of I'm shifting to running mostly and like biking. Uh, what I did is after January, I did my first virtual race, and that's Badwater 267. So I did 20 half
Hmm.
marathons in 20 consecutive days, ran 267 miles, and then
Wow.
in I was like, that's how like you know if I'm trying to train and lose my get back my fitness or lose my extra weight. It's not going to happen. So I had to sign up for some race, and bad water was like just in time, and I just did that. And uh, and another thing I did in 21 was I sold my car, and I sold my car, and I
Mm.
commute everywhere in San Diego on my bike instead of driving.
Wow.
So that's the biggest change. I mean, even though I'm not vegan, I'm like more like working towards zero carbon. So I think
Mm.
that's how I'm justifying becoming vegan.
So why did you give up on triathlon? I mean,
Uh,
I'm just getting into triathlons now, and
no,
I'm
no,
so
I didn't give
I'm
up on
wondering why you're
triathlon.
leaving triathlons. That's
I'm not giving up
okay.
on triathlon. I'm actually trying to understand ultra running, like especially like long distance running, because
Mm.
long distance running is like
Okay.
it's not easy because swimming and biking
Mm.
puts less toll on you compared to running. So
Mm.
now, if you add, like, say, your
Right.
52-mile run on the third day of Ultraman, it's like really hard. Whereas compared to 171 miles of biking on day two. So if you make like 100-mile running or like anything beyond 100 mile, it's completely different. I mean, it gets like harder if you have time
Yeah.
constraints. So you got to like plan your nutrition and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything. So even like, I was doing virtual race, it wasn't easy. Like recovering every day was like extremely hard. And
Mm.
I had to completely
Hmm.
reevaluate myself and understand like what I was doing as a triathlete. Now I have to change everything as a runner. So it's completely the two different platforms. Yes, I mean like Ultraman, like triathlons are hard enough. Uh, I mean ultra running is like different, and like it like
Yeah.
your body takes a lot of toll when you're doing ultra run.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. It seems like you're trying to explore something new for yourself, because I've had folks on the podcast who've just done the Cocodona 250, the Moab 240. Like running 240 miles for 5 days every day, like sleep for 3 hours, like mind blowing. It's a different level of endurance. So I guess that's where you're headed, seems like.
Yeah, it's like I just want to explore that part of the world, and it's definitely rewarding,
Yeah.
especially when you get into the trails and when you get into nature. It's quite meditative, and
Yeah.
this is what like there's an old Chinese saying: if you want to get most out of your life, don't travel the same path. So that's how like when I go running,
Mm.
if I run like in one direction, I try to go take like get lost and then like trace my route back. So that's how I explore a new place.
No, I that's very well said, wisely said. I've been running for all these years, and I am now getting into triathlons, and I'm learning to swim. Like, I know how to swim, but I'm now learning to swim better, so that I can swim in the open water. So I'm working on techniques, and it's amazing. I'm loving it. It's just a change. It's a new domain. I agree with you. It's just that you keep trying to get new skills, and
Exactly.
train your brain for new muscle memory, I guess. Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, like
completely
swimming,
hear
like
you there.
learning. I'm sorry. Swimming, like it's an amazing sport, and what you're doing is pretty awesome. Like it reminds me of my old days when I was like struggling to learn. I still have a lot to learn in swimming, but I understand where you are right now, and
Mm,
the journey is quite amazing. And the biggest thing you need to know is it's not about learning how to swim; it's about unlearning what you thought was swimming.
mm,
So that's the key.
yeah,
And once you unlearn
yeah.
that, then you can actually like learn the right way.
So, coming back to the present, where you are and what you did in the pandemic, I know you've been up to some cool events. You went to Grand Canyon, you did some stuff there, and and then your ultra, right? Your first 100 miles. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's like I think it started like on Thanksgiving in November, Thanksgiving Day in 2020. Generally, that's when I go and do an Ultraman. That's when we have. And this in 2020, everything was locked down, so I need to do something epic. So I decided to go and run from North Rim to South Rim of Grand Canyon. So I just over the weekend, I just like drove there, a car camped, and it snowed heavily that
Wow.
night. In the morning, it was like pure, like white, like all snow everywhere at North Rim. And I had my crampons, and I started running like first 3 miles in the snow. I even saw some, I think, some wild cats. Probably it's a bobcat or some big cat. So it's footsteps, but I went down like after 3 4 miles. Then you drop in elevation and the snow cleared. It was beautiful. Like since it was the pandemic time, there's pretty much no one. Entire Grand Canyon is for you when you're running. Like the first like 5 6 miles, I was the only guy there, and then like I was just running in the morning, like the beautiful sunrise, and I just like I think it took me over 7 hours, 7.5 hours to run from North Rim to South Rim. So and it was hot. I experienced all kinds of temperatures, and that's one of the bucket list item. And I just went for it, and I was like, okay, now this is the first test of whether I still have fitness or not. So I wasn't fast, but I was like decently fit to do that. Uh, I thought of like going back from South Rim to North Rim the same day, rim to rim to rim. But by the time I reached South Rim, it was almost 3:34 in the afternoon, and 3 or something. So even if I go down, like it will be kind of hard. So I tried to get a hotel at the Phantom Ranch at the bottom. I didn't get it, so I had to just like drop the plan and then just like find a ride and go back to North Rim. It was good. It's a great experience, and I went from there. I went and like explored some of that area, Bryce Canyon and everything, and ran there. And I traveled a bit. I did some car camping, and uh, got into 2021 and signed up for this Badwater 267 virtual race in January. They were supposed to run 267 miles in 31 days. So I said, like, okay, it's 2021, so I better do 2021 kilometers. So I did like 20 half marathons in 20 consecutive days. On January 23rd, I
Wow.
finished. So yeah, it's good. Like I kind of recruited my fitness, and then like I started looking into what next, and I saw another one like the same Badwater. They did it for elite. That is, they have more strict rules. What that means is in virtual runs, uh, if you start, like most of the people were like, they start the run and they're tired, they just pause the run. And then
Mhm.
after like 20 minutes, they again run. So in virtual race elite in April, once you start, you can't stop. And there is
Okay.
if you take a short breaks, that will be counted as the whole thing. So and also everyone is will track you on Strava, and there are like more stringent rules. So
Mhm.
it was a pretty good opportunity. So you really push yourself as an endurance athlete in Badwater 267 elite. So I did that. I
Okay.
did that in 13 days. Pretty much I was doing 20 miles a day. So and
Mhm.
I finished on April 15th, and I was like, okay, that's good. I mean, I got it. And uh, and then
Wow.
uh, I think after that, a week after that, I started like hearing how like I mean like by then like it kind of everything was bad in India. It started
Mhm.
getting really worse with the second wave.
Yeah.
and I mean, like, it was terrifying. Like, I started uh, like every time I called somebody, they were telling me just somebody or the other died,
Yeah.
and
It was bad.
the
Yeah.
people I know, uh, I grew up with, and they're no more. And some of my close
Mm.
friends were in the
Sorry.
hospitals. Can you hear me?
Sorry to hear about that. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's like a lot of people were in like hospitals, and it was. I mean, I couldn't sleep for a week or so because like every time, like it's everything
Mm.
was flashing in front of you, and you came here as for your studies and for your future, and what is that you're giving back, and it just
Mm.
like it didn't feel right, and for quite some time, and I just wanted to do something or give something back to them, and I didn't know how to help, and it's just like everybody was in helpless situation, so it's kind of quite terrifying at that time, and yeah, it's like we went through. It's like in US, it hit like really bad in the beginning, but at that time,
Yep.
India was fine. We didn't hear like a lot of deaths, so like coming from India, it's like we really like were in a panic state or for the entire 2020 all the way until like the first quarter of 21, and then we
Yep.
thought like in US we are like kind of easing out, and now you see everything blew up in India. So, and it's it's getting worse. So for us, it's like kind of we never rested. We are still in shock or like fighting that pandemic, like even though not directly but indirectly worried about our people back in India, and it's quite tasking on everyone. Like, I
Mhm.
hear so many stories, and then like people here. I mean, it's like uh, they don't see a purpose of coming here and trying to find a new
Mm.
life or whatever. So it's, I don't know, you can get in deeper into that situation. It's heart
Yep.
wrenching.
And you you were also raising funds for
Yeah.
that purpose to support, right, for supporting oxygen. Oxygen availability was a big issue, and you were raising funds for that, and you also did the 100 miler as a part of that whole fundraising initiative, isn't it?
Y- yes, that was it's like after my second Badwater 267 virtual race, I went ahead. It's like I think 3 4 weeks before. It's like end of April. I went ahead and signed up for Keys 100-mile run. So I reached out to a lot of people how I can help or like if I can do anything. And one of my college mates, Swati Reddy, I mean, like I worked with her mom before on raising funds back in 2017 for her organization called Aarti for Girls. So they said like they formed a team of people where they identified the real problems. You can't like help everyone in India, but you can help the really needy people who really don't have any help. Her mom was like really instrumental in identifying a problem that is in the remote part of India, a place named Kadapa. Their government hospital doesn't have a oxygen plant. They get these cylinders, and I mean, at that time it was like really we had a shortage. So the two things we needed, like one is immediately get some oxygen concentrators, so that like they don't get into the stage where they need ICU care. And second, when you get to ICU, you need like those dedicated like hospital grade oxygen supply. So those are the two critical problems because of lack of oxygen. A lot of organs or like people who have COVID, their organs are failing and they're getting into complications. So, and especially in Kadapa, it's away from the urban area and they don't have access. The entire region is dependent on that hospital, and hospital doesn't have some infrastructure. So she identified this, and a group of friends like came together, and everybody worked in different fields. So they brought in their expertise. One person started like bringing in, like collecting all the data and researching on different oxygen plants. There was a lot of brainstorming which went through, and and I was like, okay, this is what we can do. We identified, okay, if uh, we can have a big goal, but like the goal is like get 100 oxygen concentrators, and then like get an oxygen plant which would supply oxygen for 100 ICU beds. And after this pandemic, that hospital will be self-sustaining. That was the whole idea. And then, like, what do we do with these 100 oxygen concentrators after the pandemic? There are a lot of old age homes. We can donate it to them, and that they will be of useful. So we thought about like a sustainable plan, and I was like, okay, this is a really good plan. So I was like, okay, to raise, we need $160,000 to execute this one. So, and I was like, okay, 100 oxygen concentrators, 100 plant for 100 ICU beds. I'm running 100 miles to raise that. So this is my contribution. So this is a campaign, and like everyone started working from their ends, and they contacted their alumni. Some of them IIT and IIMs. They contacted their alumni, and Auntie, as Swati's mom, like she had like a bureaucratic connection, like where she worked for the government before, so she cleared all the governmental approvals and everything. And so everybody worked in their region. So, and I was like, okay, I signed up for this 100-mile run, and I had 3 more weeks to do it. So yeah, I just like went ahead and called my friends who can crew me, because crewing is really hard. Like I crewed for a friend in 2018. He ran 100 miles, and he did like really good. Like he won his master's division, ran in like say sub 18 hours. So, but I was like, okay, having this person with me, I mean, like, he knows me pretty well. We raced together back in Hawaii on World Championships. So he knows me pretty well, and I know him pretty well. It's a perfect combination. And I asked a couple of people, and yeah, it's like there was one guy who said he can run like long distance. So I recruited him and just went with the flow and went with the purpose to run 100 miles. Going from California to Florida, where Florida was like, it has like intense heat, over 90 degrees, and the humidity is almost 100%. So adjusting your body to that hot weather and humidity was quite a challenge. But the purpose was like,
So you ran the 100-mile in 90 degrees and 100% humidity,
yes, it's pretty
right?
much like
Wow.
that's. I mean, that's how the keys. I mean, like compared to 2018, it was like less miserable, but it was decently miserable. Yeah, so it was because Keys 100 is.
So how did you
So go ahead.
calibrate? Because like you said, you California is hardly humid as humid as that. How did you calibrate in terms of, you must have lost a lot more fluids in that humidity? How did you adjust
So
in 100 miles?
what I did was uh, when I did this, it was Ramadan period. So I know what Muslims do. Like my friends who they used to fast. So I picked up like 3 days in a week to fast. And the way I fasted, I mean, like the way they fast is like they don't eat anything the entire day. They eat some breakfast before 4 o'clock, and then they break the fast at around 8 o'clock. So it's like a good, like over 16 hours of fasting. And there are like different types of fasting, but this during Ramadan, they don't even drink water. So that's a perfect way. I started fasting, and the way I fasted was at the end of, before I broke the fast, the last 1-2 hours, I ran. After to end the fast, I ran 5 to 10 miles. So my body didn't have any fluids, and I just like adapted to that, like lack of water, but like you're still running 5 miles, 10 miles, and then like your body adapts to that heat. Like California is not that hot, but like, you have to create your own, conditions. And I ran like when it is really hot, that's when I went and ran, and I didn't take water. So that's how, like, you adapt to that conditions. And it's all about how
Wow.
you.
And you didn't fall sick. You didn't feel fatigued, and I mean dehydration symptoms, typical symptoms, flu-like symptoms,
No.
feeling tired, tight muscles. No.
I mean, during the race, I had like a lot of, I went through, yes, there was like one, a section I really struggled was, it's called Hell's Tunnel. I think it comes at around like, say, 45th mile. So basically, it's like you have all these trees, they're like a tunnel, and then it's so hot, like you will be running through an oven. And I didn't calculate my distance. I didn't carry my water. So that's when like I kind of dehydrated, and that's when I lost my momentum quite a bit. And it took me like a.
So yeah, so that's great, but my question was from training perspective, right? What you're saying, that is, you're fasted and you're running 10 miles under, having not had any water or any kind of fluids for like maybe 6, 7, 8 hours,
16 hours.
and then you're going out running 16 hours.
Yeah.
So, and then you're going running 5 to 10 miles. My question is, what happened? How did the body react? Because typically, like in Houston, if you go and run without hydration, you're probably next day going to have some cramps. You're going to have, your muscle are going to be tight. You're going to suffer, right? Did you go through that at all, or
No.
when you were training?
No, I didn't go through any of that because see, the way I ran was like a mile from here, there is, from my place, there's like a San Diego River Trail. So I was running. Any point of time, it is like crossing that like line where like I'll have to pay next day. That's when like I would stop, do the recovery walk, and come back home. So you have to calculate here. The purpose is not running 10 miles. The purpose is adapting to the condition. So I just like went ahead and like I was working on adaptation. So yeah, I dodged that. Like, I was very calculated training approach.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, actually.
So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So coming back to the race itself, yeah, you were saying, you were talking about the race itself. Sorry, I interrupted you there. Please continue.
Yeah, it's like strategically, I was like we had some adventure as well. Like, I prepared all my nutrition, like in two big 1 gallon jugs, and I put it in the refrigerator, and we left the hotel without them. And it was like, it's an hour drive. So we had like other nutrition, but like my main nutrition was like, we left it back. I was like, my crew was like kind of, oh man, like what do we do now? And I was doing my math. And like when I started, like that faces changed. Where I was like, man, that's not how they put. And then like after like say 5-10 miles, I was connecting the dots, and I was doing this, and then, okay, Boki doesn't put that expression. There's something that is bothering him. And then I started connecting. And when I asked certain kind of nutrition, they just gave me something else. Like, it's not the same consistency what I prepared. I was like, okay, I think after like a half marathon, I was like, hey, I told them, they were giving me fruits. I was like, hey, we forgot our nutrition back at the hotel. I was like, oh man, like he came to know about this. I was like, yeah. I said like, you listen, like going back there, it'll take an hour, coming back an hour. So give me these 2 bottles. I can run for another half marathon. By the time I finish my first marathon, or so like get to mile 30, you should be back. Even if you get back by mile 40, I can take care of myself. I have some cash, so I'll just like buy some water here and there, and I'll keep going. Just go. And they were hesitant. They didn't want to leave me. And I said like, don't worry, because like last thing you want is worry about the nutrition at mile 50 or 60. So just they went back and got the nutrition, and it was perfect. And but it's how you okay. You should not panic in those situations, and it's very hard. Uh, it's so delicate. Book is a very experienced athlete and like amazing athlete. He understands like what by telling this, it can like uh, break the athlete at that time, or you don't know. It's like, so he was skeptical when I said that, like he was trying to, no, it's like, but thing is like, he understood like where I'm coming. He worked with me in the past, so he knows me, and he just like, we were happy by the time, like I got to mile 30, and like we're again like back to our game plan. And the whole race, I was like, okay, this is hot, and it gets even hotter by midday. And a lot of people were like doing like a 9 minute mile. And when I started, there were guys like they're just like cruising at 9 minute mile. I was like, nobody was looking at their heart rate. I said, listen, a lot of people started being bled at mile 70 or 60. So, and it's so hot. So, I decided like even though I have energy, or like, I can do, I'm not going to overheat. So I paced myself, like, kept my heart rate low, and like iced myself all the way. And, I passed a lot of people after mile 60 or 70. And I ended up doing a negative split of my last half marathon. Like I did like, I think 2 hours, 35 minutes or so, my last half marathon. Just like I pushed myself in such a way that, I can do a sub 24 hours. I was like kind of giving up on like a sub 24 hours, because like, at, I think mile 80-ish, I was like, okay, I still have more than 12 hours to run like less than 20 miles. So I was just lying down on the road, on the side of the road, and I was chilling and drinking, taking my nutrition and everything. And my friend, like a Boki, came, listen, you can still do sub 24 hours. The only way you can do is if you start running. It'll be hard first 2 miles. Third mile will be hard. Fourth mile, fifth mile, you continue running, and you'll be running, and you'll finish running. And he was absolutely right. Like he came in and told me the right thing at the right time. And I finished my first 100 mile run in 23 hours, 56 minutes, 41 seconds. That is like, I had 3 minutes to spare for my 24 hours. So it's like, it's just it was amazing. And I felt really good. And the biggest thing is like when I finished the race, then that evening when we talked to the team who are working on this pandemic relief in India, we already shipped 140 oxygen concentrators, and our fundraising, instead of 160, we went to $321,000, and we changed all our efforts, like upped our efforts to instead of 100 beds, now it's at 260 beds. 2 plants, we got getting 2 plants, and so 260 beds, and still had some money. I was talking to my friend last night, and we had extra funds. We thought like, okay, let's continue this 100 goal. And they said like, we'll identify 100 orphans whose parents or like somebody died and they're orphan kids. So let's help orphan kids. It's not like just girl or boy, any kid, because they go through a lot when, especially helplessness situation is at peak. So, we aimed at 100, but like we identified, as of yesterday, there were around 291 orphan kids we identified, and they'll be taking care of them. So it's going good. It's definitely my 100-miler is definitely came in handy. My profession and my passion finally found its purpose. So I felt good about it, because yeah, being an architect or like having an engineering architecture background, it just definitely be able to put things into perspective and then like see how my endurance can raise some funds. I mean, like it's not me; it's like other friends, people like they reached out to their alumni, and they were like people who are dropping like $10,000, stuff like that. So it was quite amazing to raise like 320 in 2 weeks.
Yep. Amazing. That's great, Manmadh. Very fascinating to see you pivot into the world of ultras. And obviously, for somebody like you, I'm sure you're going to push boundaries. Knowing you, you're going to be doing some very cool stuff in the coming months and years. And also very touching that you could combine your first 100 miler with something larger and contribute to a crisis that was happening in India. So fascinating. So Manmadh, we're kind of coming to wrap up in this conversation. It was a pleasure having you in the show again. As always, you are pushing envelope, trying new things. Someone who's been a Ultraman is now getting into ultra running. Just shows to say how important it is to keep reinventing and creating new, projects for oneself. So thanks for sharing your journey here.
Thank you, Santosh, for this opportunity to talk about my adventures, and it's an honor to be on your podcast. And I really enjoyed talking to you a lot, which it's a great way of like sharing my experiences, where you can spread my experiences and a lot of other great athletes, endurance athletes, journey to most of the people. And thank you for inspiring and creating this platform to inspire everyone.
I'll let you go and have a rest of the afternoon. Have a wonderful rest of the journey in ultra running, and we'll keep tracking you. Have a good one.